This is the standard. This is the work. This is the mindset behind the results. Built, not bought, earned, not given. This is the room where leaders are different. Built through consistency, proven through execution. Hosted by Michael Sweigert. Inside the champion's herd. At ALCOVA Mortgage.
Welcome to Inside the Champion Circle, powered by ALCOVA Mortgage. Your host, Michael Sweigert, sits down with top producers, industry leaders, and some of the most well-known mortgage influencers in the world and engages them in high-level conversations on what it takes to be elite in the mortgage industry. ALCOVA Mortgage, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS ID 40508. Michael Sweigert, NMLS ID 1240868, NMLSconsumeraccess.org. Terms and conditions apply. All loans subject to credit approval. Grab a drink, put your headphones on, and enjoy this week's guest, Jason Helmintoller.
Well, yeah, thanks so much for joining. And Jason, I'm excited to, I think I told you, like my hair's a little messy today because it's 55 and sunny in Northeast Ohio today. We are in a good mood up here.
Absolutely. I feel you on that. We've had ice and snow on the ground for now about 2.5 weeks off and on. I still have a backyard full of compacted down ice and snow because I just get no sun in my backyard. So it's like a little frozen tundra in the backyard if we want to play some December Green Bay football or something.
I think I'm going to one-up you. I think we've had snow on the ground since before Thanksgiving. So now it's great. I saw the grass. I'm happy. I'm good. It's going to snow this weekend. So we'll be back in a grumpy mood. But no, I appreciate you joining. You're an awesome story because you have a very special place here at ALCOVA. You know, your branch partner located in Virginia, correct?
Correct. Covington. The office that's in Covington, Virginia.
Okay, perfect. But you're always going to hold this title that nobody could ever take from you because you were the number one in units for 2025. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Love that metric because I don't care how cliche it sounds. That's how many families you got to help. And whether it's first-time home buyers, whether it's people, like creating generational wealth or helping their net worth and getting into investment properties or downsizing vacation homes, whatever it is, that number represents how many families you were able to help in a calendar year. So I love that metric. But we want to talk about, you are the very first loan officer hired by ALCOVA Mortgage.
Absolutely. I am numero uno. And it's just kind of by fate that it happened. Had no desire or plan to be in the mortgage industry. Wasn't a finance major. I was actually a sports management major. Love sports. That's one of my biggest passions. Graduated from James Madison and was going to go into teaching actually, because I realized I graduated with a sports management degree, came back to my hometown and realized there wasn't a professional sports team or a college team to work for. So then I was like, oh man, what do I do now? I've got to find a real job. And started working at the schools, helped coaching basketball, and really enjoyed that. Was helping one of my best friends coach the varsity basketball team. Thought about going back and getting my teaching license and just become a teacher. It worked, flexible schedule, summers off, weekends off. It sounded like a great gig. Reached out to Radford University about coming up there and doing some continuing education and transitioning from my degree into a teaching license. And just happened to call Rob Lindstrom and said, hey man, I've got to be in Radford tomorrow morning. I knew he was in Christiansburg. And I said, do you mind if I crash on your couch so I don't have to get up as early to drive to Radford? And he's like, sure, man. Actually, if you want to come on up now, we're painting an office or something. And I just stopped by the office. They opened an office and I just met them for lunch and hung out with them for a little bit. And basically through our conversation, they were like, hey, just come to work for us. You're very well known in the community. Your family is well known in the community. My parents owned a floral and greenhouse, and we're well established in the local small community that we are in. And to be honest with you, I didn't know the first thing about a mortgage. I just to be absolutely naive, never had thought that far about, how did my parents get the house that I grew up in? I just figured they bought it. So,
Isn't that funny though? Like even as a loan officer, I remember I tell the story all the time. I didn't know USDA had a front end ratio when they were looking at your debt to income. So
Right.
like I just had a spreadsheet that I used to pre-approve people, and I'm like, oh, 43%. All right, good. Yep, you're good to go. And I'm like, looking back, I had no idea. Yes, I was in banking and I wrote mortgages, like when I was at the bank, but I'm like, I still had no idea what I was doing when I became a loan officer.
Yeah, it's crazy for me. I mean, when I say no idea about mortgage, I mean none. I mean, I was just naive. And Bobby gave me a brief description of what they're doing, and he said, and this will just tell you a little bit about ALCOVA. From the very beginning, it was the very first conversation he told me about recruiting me to do the job. He was like, "It's relationship based business," and I thought about that for a second, and he says, I can teach you the mortgage part. You can learn that. That's a tangible thing you can learn. The relationship part you've got. You've got the ability to communicate, bridge conversations with realtors and just earn the trust of your community. So from the very beginning, the first sales pitch that was ever made in ALCOVA to a loan officer was built behind and on the basis of relationship based selling, which I think that's cool because
Yeah.
that's been a focus point of our company's growth for the last 20 plus years.
And I absolutely agree. I've said that so many times. I've said it on this podcast and just even to people in the industry or even to 3 a.m. the ownership group. It's like realizing that this is a relationship business and that the loan officers on the front line are out there building their business that way. I mean,
Yeah.
there's not a better mortgage company that could set you up for success because that's in the back of their mind constantly. What can we do to not just make the customer's experience better, but also our loan officers' experience that are building their business the right way through relationships.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's been like that from the start, and I can attest to that for ALCOVA. And that's one thing I'm most proud of as of this company is I've seen how it's grown, and that discipline has never changed. That's still the foundation, the building block of how we've grown our business. And I've seen every loan officer join the company, and it's the ones that make it and rise to the top. They all fit that same mold, and it's
Yeah.
it's an awesome thing that 3AM's been able to do.
Yeah. So what was that first year like? I mean, like when did what do you remember the month that you started?
Yeah, I do. It was I planned it around the semester break of high school. So I finished out my semester on my job. I had a teacher's aide job at the school. So I had committed to a whole year, but I didn't want to waste a whole year there if this is what I wanted to do. So I did finish the semester break, which ends right around the Christmas holiday. So I think I started with ALCOVA mid-January, got through the holiday season, went up and I actually lived on Billy and Rob's couch. Billy and Rob had a townhouse in Blacksburg at the time, and I crashed on the couch. And for that first 90 days, I mean, we lived in the office. The Billy, Bobby, Rob, myself, Darren Bridgers, and Brandon started coming around. Brandon nicely was still in college at the time. And then we had a couple other people that are no longer with us, but they came along later. But when I tell you that me, Billy, Bobby, and Rob lived in the office for that first 90 days, I mean, that is what we did. I sat right beside Bobby and learned from him. It was basically like I was his right-hand man. Like I listened in on every conversation, and there in the beginning, it was not only sales conversations, it was getting set up at that time with different lenders and investors to sell to be able to lock loans with them and get them to buy our loans. And it was just a real, I mean, I, I have not been able to replicate what Bobby did for me with my LOs just because we were there. I was there at ground level. I mean, we came in and it was just, I mean, it was a great experience. I learned from the best in Bobby, but I also got to see how the company was built and the struggles that they went through and the long hours. And it was cool. And then, so I think somewhere along 60 days in, they bought me like 10 leads. And, at that point in time, ALCOVA had to spend every dime wisely. Like they did not have money to waste. So
Yeah.
I can remember them saying like, hey, we're going to invest 10 leads. I want you to work these leads like your life depended on it. I mean, that was kind of the mindset we had. We ended up closing like 6 of those leads.
Which is a crazy conversion, by the
It
way.
unreal. I mean,
Yeah.
if that would have stayed on, I'd buy leads every day. But
Yeah.
so it was just pure luck. And and I don't even want to say luck. I want to say, divine intervention. I mean, it was one of those things like, we put our faith into this company, and that, those 3 guys had quit great jobs. They were all in at that point in time. I had kind of committed to, I wasn't quite all in from a financial standpoint like those guys were, but I had committed to go that route. And it's like we got 10 of the best leads you could. And crazy enough, out of the 6 that we closed, like the other 4, I think there was only 1 that, never apped. Like the other ones apped, and just we couldn't get them there.
Yeah.
And they may have closed later. It was in a market I had since left, so someone may have closed them later on, but we did close like 6 of those loans. And then, so we're probably fast forward to mid-March, early April. The guys say, "Hey, go to Covington. It's like they set me into the world, and they're like, "Hey, we want you to open the next branch, and grow this business." So here I am sitting in my office in Covington. I've got the phone, I've got the computer, the fax machine. We're all set up, ready to go. And phone's not ringing. And where I'm sitting there like, what do I do? Should we buy some more leads? I mean, what do we do at this point? So I start going around and meeting realtors. We're in Covington is a very small market. At that time, crazy enough, I would say 80% of the real estate transactions, it felt like, were handled by three realtors. So there were 3 really, let's call them big dogs. So
Yeah.
I focused on them, and to this day, they opened a door for me that I'll never be able to repay them. I think the world of them. One of them is, 2 of them are still in real estate, and one of them has passed on, but they were 3 ladies, and they were super. They gave me a chance. I laugh about it thinking back, we're 20 plus years. So, I'm trying to remember, but,
Yeah.
they were used to the standard, someone goes to a bank, someone gets a mortgage from a local bank. A couple mortgage companies existed outside. They were servicing this area from Roanoke. So I think the mortgage company being like the outsider, I had to overcome that. Like I was bringing in this new concept into a market. Like, we're going to use a mortgage lender instead of a bank. And then I'll tell you what changed the game for me. I was sitting in my office, and a guy I had went to college with was becoming a realtor in a surrounding county. Jeff Black, he went to work for Remax over in Lexington, which is the county over, Rockbridge County. He invited me to come over and go to a USDA rural development workshop. I did it. Ann Herring was the teacher at that time. She did it. She did the class, and it changed the ballgame. I came back to Allegheny County and went to all these realtors that were here doing business and said, I've got a way to get more people opportunities to buy homes, and therefore allowing you guys to sell homes to more people. And it was like gangbusters. I mean, it
Yeah.
took, and I said, and imagine this, get a rate that at that time was, in the same, I mean, we can attest to this. USDA rates sometimes are lower than conventional rates.
Yeah. Yep.
So here I am being able to take someone to 100% financing with a lower interest rate than 20% down conventional financing. And
Yeah.
and it was a game changer. I mean, so I had to get over one hurdle within that was it was a government loan program. So they had the FHA nightmares. The early days of FHA was a nightmare for realtors. I think I've heard horror stories about it. So once I got them to realize it was a different product, and then also tried to work on them that FHA isn't really as bad as you may have heard or dealt with, that once they realized, hey, let's give USDA a shot, and then that opened the door for FHA. But USDA was a game changer for me, and
Yeah.
it's something to this day that it's my favorite loan product.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yep.
reason being is it's allowed so much home ownership that just wasn't a possibility prior to it getting introduced into our community.
Yeah. I try to tell people because I love USDA. I bought my first home going with a USDA loan when I worked at the bank, and I wrote a check for $400 at closing. Right, I
Yeah.
didn't pay for the appraisal. Like I wrote a check for $400. I bought an $80,000 house, and which I would love to be able to buy an $80,000 house now, but bought an $80,000 house with carpet in the kitchen, and it was it was part of an estate. A lady her and her husband built a house out of a Sears and Roebuck catalog after World War II,
Yeah.
and they bought it off the estate 80,000, and I was like, this is a game changer for people in like my community. Why is this not talked about? And the biggest thing I always tell people, like you hear Russell Smith and I talked about this on the first episode with the VA loan. You hear no money down and government loan program, and you instantly go, "Oh, I'm not dealing with that." Or you had a bad loan officer who didn't understand. I don't know how many times that I've had to try it. Now, things have changed with the guidelines, but a couple years ago, how many times I've had to talk with a buyer who's frantic because their loan officer told them they could buy a manufactured home with the USDA loan. Now, obviously, things are starting to change with that, but a couple years ago, it was only if it was brand new from a certain dealer and it was inside 12 months old, and I'm like, yeah, no, unfortunately, you cannot buy a manufactured home with the USDA, which always never made sense to me because that's where every house in rural America seems to be manufactured homes. But it's like there's so many lenders and loan officers who don't specialize in USDA or they don't understand the loan program. I try to tell everyone too, like the underwriting guidelines for for conventional or this vast ocean, it's this big book, and or FHA, it's like, we could try to make it work. USDA is it's like a shoebox. Like this is what it is. But if you know the guidelines, which I feel like I know you know them better than I do, but I feel like I know the guidelines very well with USDA just from writing so many of them. It's an awesome loan program that is super affordable. And especially in a time of like where we're at now, where we've seen rates come down over the past year, 18 months, when you go to refinance a USDA loan, oh my goodness, it's probably the best streamlined refinance out there.
It is. It's
Yeah.
just it's one of those things in a world where you just say, why can't we get things right? Whenever USDA was brought into existence, it was one of those times they got it right. I mean, it
Yeah.
was one of those things where it was a game changer. I mean, it like you said, I mean, use yours for example, when you bought that house, could you have done conventional financing or something at that
Yeah.
time?
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
could
I
have.
had the down payment. I could have done,
Okay.
yep, could have done conventional, but when you talk about the guarantee fee as opposed to PMI at a 5% down, it's a no brainer.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but a lot of people don't have that option. Like there's so many people like it's USDA or it's renting. And
Yeah.
for me, it's just I take pride in it. Especially in a small community, and I ride by these houses every day. Going home, and I think about, oh, that was the Smiths. They bought that one. That was their first house, and they wouldn't have got it without USDA. So who knows where the Smith story would have went without USDA loans? And
Yeah.
that's why when you hear about mortgage burnout and stuff like that, loan officer burnout. I'll never have it because those stories. I mean, whenever I start to say, man, why am I doing this 20, 22, 23 years now and still punching the time clock like I do? That's why, because,
Yeah.
I ride by those houses and, the Smith story was here. And now I know where that Smith story has grown and it's got 2 or 3 kids with it. And I see them playing high school basketball now or rec league. It's just, and USDA to me has been a big vessel to get to those stories.
And it's investing back in the community that raised you. Like one of my biggest pet peeves is that, we pay here in Northeast Ohio, especially in, my house, 49% of my property taxes a year, which they're not cheap, goes to the school district. And then the school district, hopefully we are one of the best school districts in the area, and it's very, high test score is great. It's good. I like investing in the school district. But then we like encourage the kids who have great grades and graduate top of their class, like not encourage, but we're excited when they like go to college. Like for me, like they go to Ohio State, and
Mhm.
we're all so excited. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Well, then they go get they go get their degree. Perfect. Well, then they move to Columbus, and then they get educated and they don't come back after I just spent 12 years, paying tax. I mean, I know this sounds a little not great, but it's not how I feel. But we just spend 12 years putting a kid through some of the best education, and then we encourage them not to come back to our community and invest here and work here. Maybe there's not enough jobs here for that or whatever it may be, but then they move away and they invest somewhere else into a different municipality. USDA allows people who, maybe they didn't move away. Maybe they're, staying here and they want to raise a family in the community that, that they were educated and they want to give back to the community. Well, USDA allows them, almost rewards them for these small municipalities to, hey, here's no money down. Here's a lower interest rate. Here's lower, guarantee fees way lower. The monthly premiums way lower than PMI, and it's more affordable. And buy your house here with no money down, fix it up, fix the area up, and raise your family here, as opposed to encouraging people maybe to move to the bigger city. So my favorite thing is everybody's like, what am I doing with, like, I'm not buying a steak. Like, what is USDA?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not buying a steak. I'm like, no, it's not that. So no, it's cool to hear, because a lot of people in my market have no idea what a USDA loan is, and I'm always excited to educate about it. And I'm just so happy that they're coming back to the forefront, that they're becoming a little more acceptable, as opposed to when there's 30 offers on a home. There's no way a seller is going to accept a USDA offer, even though they, just come from their preconceived notions.
Yeah, I've done a really good job in my market educating the realtors that
That's the biggest thing to do.
It's a great tool.
Yeah.
Don't be scared of it. Does it come with a little bit extra baggage on an appraisal? Perhaps. But, those things, especially if you're close, I always tell my realtors, hey, the best thing you can do if you're taking a listing and you go and we're talking peeling paint or GFCI outlets, if those are missing, encourage them to fix it, because you bring in, especially in my market, you're probably bringing in 30 to 40% more buyers right off that
Yep.
you're eliminating. If your seller digs their heels in and says, I'm not going to take a USDA offer, I don't want to do these little small things, then you're eliminating probably 30% of the pre-approved buyers in our market, which I think toughen yourself.
I'll argue all day long that if you have a house with, $200,000 house, and my $200,000 USDA is actually stronger than that $190,000 $190,000 cash offer, because you're getting $10,000 more. I don't want to deal with the GFs. Well, okay, well then we'll find, put it on the buyer maybe, or the buyer's agent, and we'll find something. If that's your biggest worry, like, I would be worried about, 150 other things, as opposed to, replacing an outlet. But my biggest thing too, when I talk about USDA loans, and it's the same as VA loans, conventional loans sit there and they have to check a box now that says, is there any safety issues with the property? You talk about the minimum property requirements for VA, and it's like, is it safe, sound, and sanitary? And I look at conventional appraisals, they're kind of asking the same thing. So when it comes to USDA, I've had conventional loans call for peeling paint, but if I'm a buyer's agent, like, don't you want to advocate for your buyer to, like, no, we want to make sure that the home you are purchasing, the product you are purchasing, is up to a standard of you are able to live there with your family. So it's like, let's maybe just, it's not as bad as you think. Yeah, we want to get a transaction done. Yeah, everybody wants to get a deal closed. But at the end of the day, we need to look out for all parties involved. And the seller's accepting a USDA loan. Hey, it's your best offer. It's going to close. Congratulations. You're having somebody that's willing to move back into this community, invest back into it. And oh, by the way, you know what? Slap a coat of paint on there. Make sure you clean up the paint chips. That's the whole reason. I'm sure you've had those where people have peeling paint and they just scrape them off and leave it. Nope, that's the safety issue. They might be lead based, so we got to clean that up.
Or we need to get rid of.
Yep, we need to get rid of it. Yep, absolutely. So I think education, that's the biggest thing. And I say that a lot in my business for sure, is if you're educating, and whether it's a client, whether it's real estate agents, you become an advisor at that point, as opposed to just a transactional loan officer that's just, no, let's get this closed, let's get this done. Don't worry, you can get a manufactured home with a USDA loan. Now you can, but a couple of years ago, I don't know how many times, probably once a month, I have some couple crying on the phone because they're not be able to close on their home because they found out it's a manufactured home and USDA doesn't allow it. So. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah,
Well, okay, I wanted to go back a couple minutes ago, but I love the story. I love what we were talking about. When did it click? Like, so you guys, it's a real like a Google startup story. And so you open up the office in Covington. When did it click? Because you said that, there was 3 agents that you owe them so much in this world. when was it like they gave you that shot, that opportunity? What, what were you doing, or what did you have to do to just that moment they
Well,
clicked?
the USDA was one game changer.
Mhm.
And then you still have to you still have to get to the closings in time, timely manner, courtesy, be courteous of their clients. To us in a small community, that was the biggest. That was probably when I was talking to those three realtors, towards the top of it was, getting their client to closing on time. Somewhere along the line we talked about, hopefully your interest rates are, close to what they can get at the bank. But the third thing was they really wanted me to take care of their client.
Yeah.
And there's a reason that those realtors were doing so much of the business, because all three of them, what their client was going to experience from me was at one of the top conversation pieces with them. And that tells you from the very beginning, they've got their client in mind from the beginning. So that's, to me, that tells them that they're successful. So when I realized, just listening, like you asked what clicked, just listening to those three ladies at that time tell me what they were looking for, and then go back. And we were still in the very early stages. 3 a.m. was really hands-on with me at that point in time, because, we didn't have but two or three. I think Roanoke may have opened. So we were up to three offices: Blacksburg, Covington, Roanoke. So Billy, Bobby, Rob were still really hands-on. I was having multiple calls a day with them, like, give us an idea on sales. We were at the very beginning stages. So, I told them, I reported back. I went back and reported to Bobby, like, these are the things that I'm hearing we need to do. So then we just implemented it. The care part was easy. I mean, that's built into the culture of Alcova. Myself, as I came up in a family that said, you care for others, and you live by your word and stuff like that. So that stuff was already in my core, and it was in the core of the three owners. I knew them. They grew up in the same community. They were built the same way as I was. But it was just really just taking what we learned from the realtors and then implementing that. And that's been throughout all different stages of Alcova. That's been part of it. I can remember, fast forward, this may have been 10, 12 years into Alcova being in existence. We reinvented this whole, I think Bobby and them polled a bunch of realtors, and at that time, communication was the big piece. That,
Yeah.
that was, I forgot what the number was, but, that was the big, they just wanted communication with their loan officer. So, that is kind of the same time we implemented the automated emails that went out throughout the different loan stages. We kind of brought that into the Alcova fold. We took advantage of technology and then keyed in on the communication part. And that is when we started the series of, the emails that went out at, hey, your clients have officially applied for the mortgage and it's been submitted, your conditionally approved email, those automated ones that went out. So it
Yeah.
took the communication burden of, now the good loan officers would just expand on those automated emails, but it at least made those emails go out to the realtors and clients at those point in time and those stages. So back to your question, when it clicked for us is when we learned that, and we learned really quickly that you ask the right questions, and you listen to what, the responses are, and then put it to action. Another thing Alcova 3 a.m. did was, I was kind of milling around. I think I had done 12 loans one month, 6 loans one month, maybe 12 loans. And, here I am, a young guy, done 12 loans, got a great paycheck. I kind of let my guard down and did 2 loans. So one day I come into work, and there's all kinds of stickers in my office with the number 10 on them. And when I say all over my office, 500-600 stickers, talking like on the walls, on the screen, on the toilet
Yeah.
seat. For weeks, I'm opening notebooks and there's a 10 sticker on there. So Rob, Billy, I think it was Rob and Billy. I don't think Bobby was involved in this, but they came down and put the number 10 stickers all over my office. So I called Bobby, and I'm like, did something, I said, I have stickers all over my office. I don't know what happened. And, at that time I had a key, my processor had a key. So I called Shannon. Shannon didn't do it. I said, I think somebody pulled a prank on us, Rob. And those guys eventually came clean. They did it. So Billy and Rob came to my office and put 10 stickers everywhere. And they challenged me to be consistently to do 10 loans a month. That should be the gold standard. So it was just like a visual thing for me. They wanted to, you just put that 10 in my mind.
Yeah.
From that point, I took the challenge. My goal was I'm going to do 10 loans a month. And I don't know if, knock on wood, if I've had a month where I haven't done 10 loans, since they did that thing. So, just, it's things like that. And those guys have been great for me. I mean, I owe them everything, but just the way they invested in me early and challenged me. It's just, I've been one of those guys. I think it goes back to being just a fan of sports. I have a competitive nature. I like to compete. And those are just moments that, have changed the game for me and changed, my life for sure. And, those are the clicking moments,
Yeah. And one thing that I will say about 3 a.m., so that's what the name for the ownership group.
Yeah.
And it's like, Bobby's the loan officer. This is just what I have in my head. I've been at ALCOVA now for 2 years. It's like I feel like, well, I'm part of the family. And what you see is like Bobby's like, you know what, our loan officers need this. Loan officers need this. We need to get this for them. We need to get this for them. And then, Rob and Billy are like, all right, well, hold on, how can we make this work? And let's try it. It's never like a no from them. And they're always constantly trying to understand how to make the process better for our clients and our loan officers. And especially if they could take care of loan officers. If that's one thing I could say, it's like they're so cognizant of like, how can we take care of our loan officers? Because we know that who we have here that's on our team are going to take care of our clients. In turn, they're going to take care of the clients and make the process that much better and that much smoother for our clients. So what is it that, if it's some new product, this part of the operation, is it whatever it is, this software, this AI, now AI is such a hot topic. What can we do to ensure that our loan officers are going to be, they're on the front lines and they're going to be in the best position possible? So it's funny to hear like they've never changed that. That's what it's been, 20
I think
20 years ago, and it is now.
Yeah, you've got them pegged. I mean, those guys, they put the interest. Gosh, I could give you great stories about Bobby taking up for loan officers. But the way I look at it is like this. Bobby came from the mortgage background. He was a loan officer at another company. Billy and Rob were engineers. I don't know if you knew that.
I did know that. Yep.
So they're engineers. So I tell everybody, even to this day, when I talk about ALCOVA and like why you should come work for ALCOVA, I talk about that blend. I talk about Bobby, who has the LO mindset, where he is going to do his best to put LOs in a position to succeed. But what do LOs not really have a great mindset on? Technology, computer software, programs. Here comes the other two pieces of the puzzle, Rob and Billy, engineer. They're when you think engineer, you think technology, you think systems, you think growth, like adaption, adapting. So it's a perfect mix of ownership. And I will give you a little Bobby story on how much he has LOs this is probably 3 years into the business. Darren and we're having a little company meeting in Roanoke, and Darren and Bobby get into a difference of opinion on the processing fee. This was back when the LOs were paid. You basically got a percentage of all fee collected.
Yeah, the fees,
for example, somebody may be a 40% commission. You get 40% of all fee collected. Well, anyway, we had a processing fee. I think it was $3.95. And Bobby said, Bobby's opinion was, if you had to waive the $3.95 to get the deal, it basically came off of that came off the deal completely, and then the split was made after that. Well, Darren said that the $3.95 should come out of the loan officer's side of the split, because the loan officer was the one choosing to waive it. So here is Darren as a loan officer kind of making the argument for the loan officer to be on the hook for the $3.95. Bobby as the owner is, taking the emphasis away from the LO and splitting it with the corporate side of things. And they just could not, and it got heated, and Bobby got so frustrated, he kicked a chair
No.
Oh, it gets better. The chair was stationary, attached down, so broke his foot. So he had to limp out of the meeting. But to give you an example, I mean, that is Bobby arguing for the side of the loan officer when it would have been in the best interest of the company for it to go the way that Darren, the loan officer, wanted to go. So
Yeah, I love that story because that is absolutely the mindset of of Bobby and 3 a.m. I love the engineer aspect of it because I feel like in this industry, just like from being at different mortgage companies and banks and talking to so many loan officers across the United States, it's that mortgage companies will always look to how can I either A, not spend the money operationally, like at a corporate level, put it on the branch or put it on the loan officer, or B, like we'll just have the loan officer do it. Just go get that. That's up to you. That's you. It's almost like this corporate versus that branch mentality. And it's like, well, everybody else is fine with it. Something as simple as like a CRM, or something as simple as software, like the software that we have that we can send to our clients. And I just remember being at another mortgage company, and so much of that was it was locked. So many of the features, something as simple as logging into your bank account and getting that account check right at initial application, where I'm not asking you for bank statements, or I'm not, oh well, go get a teller stamp, and now that's I'm missing page 9 of your bank statements. Well, it's blank. I still need it anyway, right? Something as simple as that, where they're like, the engineer mindset, where it comes, from Billy and Rob, where they're like, that would be stupid for us not to have, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the process doesn't make any sense. So I love the engineer mindset, because when you come to the loan officer side, the sales side of it, if you will, we'll just, we'll get it. The loan officer will go get it, or whatever. We'll just get bank statements. It's not that big of a deal. That's fine. As
yeah,
opposed to, no, that there's somewhere in the operation, there's somewhere down the supply chain that we're running into an issue. Let's fix it. And Bobby's like, hey, this will make it easier. All right, make sure it works. Boom, we're going to go get it. So I love that about our culture, that it's, and kind of what I said, a few minutes ago, where if ALCOVA can, that's their mindset. If they can take care of that loan officer, everything else is going to take care of itself.
yeah, I've always kind of said when especially early on when you described when somebody would say why Alcova, I mean, I've got many reasons that are Alcova that wouldn't necessarily apply for other people. Just the relationship with those guys growing up, and Alcova actually standing for where I live and stuff like that. So, but for me, Alcova is kind of like the local face and the mix of the tech giant mortgage industry blended together. We have all the technology that I'm not going to say names on here of other lenders, but that you find on Super Bowl ads. We have all that same technology, but we also have the local face, the community-based lending aspect of it. So to me, it's the perfect storm for a mortgage company. When you've got the technology piece of it, the capabilities of doing all that, but then you can back it up with a local face in your community. I mean, it's a powerful mortgage company.
Yeah. I always tell everybody we're like a mom and pop shop, but we have a secret arsenal. It's like Bruce Wayne. We go in the basement, and all of a sudden we have everything under the sun. That's like a full arsenal. So, I love that. And kind of segues into the next part, like what I wanted to talk with you about, because you're huge, and you and I have already talked about it, being in your community, and what ALCOVA does. And I'll say, before you even get started, I was here at ALCOVA for 2 months, I think. Not even, no, I think it was the first month, and we made the transition over, and myself and one of my loan officers were putting together a fundraiser into the community for it's called the Bobcat Community Closet, and they literally give, if you come in, they're open a couple times a month, and you fill up a garbage bag filled with clothes, no questions asked. They just ask for your name and number and address, so they can reach out to you if you need more assistance, because typically it's children's clothing, it's children's jackets, and so they want to help. And we did a fundraiser for them, and I think we started, it was like 2 weeks later we had the fundraiser, and we're getting emails from everybody at corporate wanting to help donate, and then all of a sudden it was getting recognized for it, by winning an award, the Jason Huddle Award, for putting that on. And just the recognition, and having it go out on all of our publications through the corporate level, and every CRM, every loan officer had it sent out to their CRM, about putting on this event in the community. And they quickly realized that ALCOVA allows loan officers and branch manager or branch partners to be able to give back to their community because you're the one in it. Not, not at a corporate level where we're not, doing going to a big city and we're sponsoring some event that I don't get to be a part of. That's not my community that I invest in. They allow you to go into your community where you live, where you work, and give back.
Yeah, it's my favorite thing about the company. And it's been like that from the beginning. And I think back to us in the very beginning of this. We're probably less than 2 years in existence here in Covington at this branch, and our high school puts in a brand new football scoreboard. They come to us, and we're kind of one of the new companies. They come to, I think it was $10,000. They were looking to raise $40,000 for the cost of this scoreboard. And they sold 4 blocks on the advertising side of the scoreboard, and then the scoreboard features were on the other side. So we have a big paper mill in the area, a bank that had been here forever, and then the hospital. And then they had one other block to sell. And the guy that was kind of heading that fundraiser said, "Do you think you guys would do it?" So I can remember going to Billy, Bobby, and Rob and saying, "Hey, gosh, it's just an honor to be, you're thinking about the paper mill that's a staple of the community, a bank that had been here forever, and the hospital, and the fourth business that they wanted to put on there was us." So it was kind of like that moment, like, "Oh, man, we're the real deal now. If we're going to be up here with these guys," but we had to hurdle $10,000. $10,000 is a ton of money right now.
I don't care when. Yeah.
$10,000 at that point in time was life-changing money for ALCOVA and myself. So basically, those 3 guys and myself split it $2,500 each. Like we didn't have it in ALCOVA to give $10,000 at that time. Like it just wasn't there. But it was our high school. All 4 of us graduated from that high school. For us to be up there and for that scoreboard, and that scoreboard still stands with us on there. It's faded, but it's still there. For us to be able to do that, we were going to find a way to do it. And so basically, I can remember I sacrificed like a paycheck or 2. I mean, they basically took it out of my paycheck for me to cover my part. Billy, Bobby, and Rob just basically, I don't know how they did their part, but I just knew it couldn't come from, it didn't impact what we were doing at ALCOVA because there were so many other people at that point in time that depended on ALCOVA, but it was something we wanted to do, and we just found a way to do it. And that is where it started for us with giving back to the community. And from there on, it's been, I think ALCOVA's on every scoreboard in Allegheny County. I mean, any gym, any scoreboard, school. And for me, we invest in schools. That's our go-to. And the reason we do that is with our youth. One, because we want our youth in Allegheny County to experience things that they can and opportunities. And it's our future. Like we know
Absolutely.
Allegheny County is built on, we're only going to be as good as our youth. So we invest in our youth at ALCOVA in the community. But for me, I didn't realize how good of an investment that was, but for twofold. One, all these people that I have supported throughout are now getting into home buying stages, and they come in here and they said, "I played on a T-ball team that you sponsored, or I went on a middle school trip that you helped pay for, or this and that." But 2, you think about this: if a company supports your children and their endeavors, when it comes time to do a mortgage, you're going to start and stop with that in a small community. You're going to start and stop with that company.
Yep.
They don't shop you. They don't price gouge you or, beat you up over fee. They just know that everything they do with you, you're going to reinvest back into their community. It's no questions asked. And it's been the best. It's my best marketing ever. I don't spend a ton I have to spend some money in the Zillows and those things of the world, which, it's an evil necessity, I guess, but it's part of what we do. But but to me, every time I invest in the community, it comes back tenfold. And it's,
Yeah, and we talked about at the beginning of the episode where we said that, this is a relationship business and this company's relationship driven. And at the end of the day, my goal that I reverse engineer every single day is I just need to have 5 quality conversations per day. And if I can open up 5 quality conversations per day, the best conversations are in my community where I live, where I work, where I transact, right? So not only I love how you said sponsoring, giving back to the schools, because what we do the same thing here. Our school district is very small. We have one stoplight in our entire school district. How about that? Right. We have the drive your tractor to school day, and we have FFA is always big. It's a big thing. Ag class. Everybody's in ag class. So our biggest thing is always investing back into the schools as well, because they are your future. But also at the same time, it's the best form of marketing, because I can help the basketball team go to a tournament, a national tournament that our school didn't have the money to put forward, and they've think about that opportunity, right? No other school in our area has that opportunity to go play on a national stage. Well, I'd rather give money to help the future of our community achieve that, or have an opportunity that we didn't have. And oh, by the way, it opens up that conversations, that relationship piece that's always going to help my business. So I agree with you 100%. And that's definitely, I realized that about Alcova the second that I came over when we were putting on that event in our community, and just seeing how supportive and how like they were absolutely, this is, what do you need from us? Let us help get the word out. And still to this day, we have one of our, I don't know if I'm supposed to announce it yet, but by the time we release this, it'll be okay. But one of the awards for like a veteran, I forget the name of it, the award that we gave out, but one of our clients was our picks. Yeah. And we he's a police officer, and we're organizing it with the entire police department, and, being able to give that award in our community is awesome. It's just
Those
awesome.
are cool.
So,
I've been able to do those. We did one of the very first ones here because, like I said, being in the company for so long, we didn't have a lot of branches that participated in it. I can remember doing one for a gentleman, um, and just he came in to accept the award, and I ended up sitting down with him at the conference table, and he went into more than what was nominated for. Mr. Holloway, he has since passed, but he was just basically a guy in his church that he was just a true testament to a hometown hero. I asked him, what are you going to do with the money? And he says, I'm kind of the guy in my church where if the single mom doesn't have the money to pay for the heat bill that month, she comes to me. And if I don't have it, I can, ask a couple people and we'll go in together and get it. So he said, I'm basically probably just going to keep the money aside and do that with it. So we just got to talking, and, it ended up being what I thought was going to be a 5 or 10 minute break in my day to present the award to him and, shake hands and get a picture, turned into, I think, about a 3-hour conversation. I ended up being at work probably till 7:30 that night playing catch up, but I wouldn't change that for anything, because I got to spend 3 hours listening to this guy tell me everything that, he's been able to do since he's been back in our community. And it's just, it's rewarding. And the fact that we recognize people like that is just why, when we get the phone, myself, when I get those phone calls about, hey man, I'm a recruiter, you interested in coming on board? Nope.
no, thank you.
Not, you'd have to, they're going to have to drag me out of here. It's time, when it's time for you to hang it up, somebody's going to have to come and just basically drag me out of this chair.
Get the SWAT team in there.
It's time to give it to somebody else.
All right.
It's a great company, and they have encouraged us to give to the community and have never told me no. And that's something that makes the BP thing that we do here just so great with, we have to operate within compliance. Obviously, let's go ahead and disclose that. It's not
absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Not the Wild West, but they give us free reign on investing in the community the way that you think is best. And they don't say you've got to give it to this organization or this big national brand or this this big national charity over here. They basically allow us to do it the way that we want to do it, and that's super. I mean, it really is.
I absolutely agree. So one thing here, but we'll get to the last little segment is the podcast called Inside the Champion Circle. So like I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, number 1 in units. So you are inside, and that's what we call like our President's Club at ALCOVA, or it's the top producers club, if you will. So inside the Champions Circle. So what do you think that it takes now? Obviously, your story is different than any loan officer getting in the industry, and
Yeah.
every time that like a brand new, like somebody's like, I want to become a loan officer, what's it take? And I'm like, well, how long do you have? It's a lot, and it's always changing. The only constant in our industry is change. And if you could pinpoint one thing right now, what do you think it takes to be great? What do you think it takes to be an elite loan officer like yourself?
One thing I've got two. Can I get two?
Yeah, you can get two. You can get two,
Okay.
not three, just two.
Okay, I'll do
Yeah,
two.
go ahead and give
So
me what do you think it is.
for me, the golden rule is I live by that. Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. I think being kind to people, taking the applications that aren't going to be fruitful, but still taking them and treating them as if they are the perfect loan application. I remind myself of that because one day, they will be the perfect loan if you do your job beyond what is just the minimum and you work with them. So the golden rule: just treat everybody good. Thank people for their business. Thank people for their referrals. I think that. And then the second thing for me is don't let anybody else in the industry outwork you. That's kind of been my motto that me and Bobby have talked about. And when I say this, when I say outwork you, I've got some friends that I'm in group text with, and a couple of them are more blue collar workers than myself, and we kind of have a running joke about this. Um, and I think of myself as a blue collar lender, and what I mean by that is I'm going to work it every day. I'm going to work every day. I go to the office. I'm not a work from home, work remote kind of guy. I go to the office every day. I'm here. I'm showing up in the community. I'm showing up at events. So to answer your question, the twofold way to make it in this industry is just be thankful for your opportunities and thankful for people, and show gratitude and grace, and then also just outwork your competition.
I think I've said that a lot, and I say it to new loan officers. I say it to loan officers who are like you talked about earlier, like being burnt out. Maybe you have to try and you have to work in this industry. People see the social media post, or you and your family on vacation. They see you at 11 o'clock in the, maybe they took the day off and you're at a coffee shop getting a coffee and sweatpants and a hoodie or something like that at 11 o'clock. But what they didn't realize was that you're in the office until 8:30 at night on a Tuesday. You're coming in on a Saturday afternoon for 4 hours to do a couple loan apps and meet clients when they can. When you do take the family on vacation, you're answering that phone on the beach and having that conversation with a client or real estate agent. That they don't see that. And we, in this industry, the people that I'm gonna call you a little bit older right now. Sorry, no offense, but
No
people people on the back nine of their career. Um, you're not trying as hard as you did 10, 15 years ago to get that business because you've already established. And I think that's. Go ahead.
I am.
Love to hear it.
For me, I am. I just do, dude. I mean, I'm one of those guys that I feel like I'm maybe even working a little bit harder now.
Yeah.
I did in the
Good.
beginning just because I'm wiser, and I realize I'm maybe not working harder, but
Smarter.
the more I'm doing is more efficient. But yeah, I go after today. Um, but it's young dudes like yourself and uh, Wally Andrews was a guy that changed my life too. And the fact he came on, young guy, kind of wanting to push me for some titles and stuff. And he might have caught me on my starting to think about a back nine, but he pushed me and basically reawoke the giant and made me have to go out there and try not to have to listen to him beat me in units anymore. So I rely on the young guys kind of still pushing me, but
I love
it's
it.
something I take pride in. Is I think I don't know if I'll have a back nine. I think I will play a hard 18 And then the 19th hole will be my when I start to call it off a little bit.
All right. You're the kind of guy that's hitting his approach shot on 18. Like, you guys want to play another 9? Maybe we'll play another 9. And then you get to the clubhouse, you're like, no, I got to go. No, I love it. I was setting you up for it because you don't accidentally become the number 1 loan officer for the entire company and units if you're not out there trying and still grinding every single day. I love how you said it. Like, you work more efficient. You understand, because the one thing in this industry, if you want to become a loan officer, is unfortunately, you're going to have to grab, like, I could tell you the stove's hot. I could tell you, don't grab the stove. You're going to have to grab the stove and realize you learn from your mistakes in this industry, and learn how not to build your business. And there's so many different ways to build your business. But I love that what you said. And that's one thing too, that I've noticed at ALCOVA, every single top producer, I held a workshop. We have a company, annual or biannual, actually twice a year. We have a company sales conference in Roanoke, and it's called Power Up. And I love it. I absolutely love it. I don't know how people feel about conferences, but when I go to a conference, I'm surrounded by people that are better than me typically. And they have ideas that I want to hear. I want to be surrounded by people that can help me grow my business. So we have, twice a year, we have that at corporate. And I held a workshop the day before that talked about social media and creating content and all that. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at this room filled with people, filled with loan officers from ALCOVA who came in a day early, took time away from their family and their business. And I'm like looking out and I'm seeing top producers in this room that are sitting there that write more in a month than I did the year before. And they're sitting there wanting to hear what I have to say because they want to get better. They understand that the only constant is in this industry is change. So at ALCOVA, it's like we have that culture where I love what you just said, where you have a young guy come in and it's almost like that didn't save your business, but he changed it and he, saved that mindset. And, we keep wanting to get better and we want to learn from people who are doing something different than us. And maybe it's going to help our business. And I don't know how many times I've heard, like I said, I already mentioned Russ, but Russ said, "Oh man, you've helped me so much with my videos or so much thinking of it differently." And even before we started recording, you said, "How do you find time to do it?" I'm like, "Well, I just kind of make it a priority now." And, and if the shortcuts, there's so many shortcuts that we share amongst a group of all the top loan officers, software, or, hey, this is your setup, whatever it may be. And everybody's just willing to learn. So it's
you inspire me too, man. I was
get out of here.
Green Room. I mean, that's part of that. Me and JB, we're talking about what you guys do. And, I was like, they have fun with that. I was like, that's cool for me. I mean, like when I see it, like just reinventing the wheel for me you guys haven't reinvented the wheel for yourself necessarily, but for me to do more stuff like you guys are doing would be reinventing some of the wheel. And I'm challenging JB. Like we said, we're putting a green room in the green screen in the basement. We're going to have a production room down there. And that's you. I mean, that's 100% you guys. I mean, you guys kind of inspired me with the Bearded podcast and all that. That's what it's called, right?
Yeah, Bearded Banker podcast.
Yeah. So like that stuff, like that's cool, man. I've enjoyed it. I watch it. I kind of check out on some of that stuff. And you guys have, the Wallies, the Michaels, the young guys of the organization have it's not only, some of the top producers impacting others. I think that's a beautiful thing about ALCOVA. It's everybody is influencing others. I think anybody that buys into ALCOVA, what ALCOVA stands for, influences others no matter what their role is with the company. I mean, there's so many people in ALCOVA that aren't even loan officers that inspire me, and just being around them at Power Up and listening to them and the sincerity of which they listen and do for us. Like that marketing team, what they've done and, and just how much they've changed that and what Power Ups used to be to what they are now. It's all inspiring. If you just got to allow yourself to be inspired.
Yeah, for sure. And I just love the culture. And, if you're a loan officer that's listening to this and maybe isn't at ALCOVA, you want to be surrounded by people that do not treat you like it's competition, that treat you like they want to learn more from you than you want to learn from them. I mean, this is absolutely the spot. And it goes all the way up to, all the way up to ownership, where I don't know how many times I've, gotten an email or a text message from one of the owners, like asking me a question about whether it's content or whether it something to do with mortgage, whatever, in the mortgage space. I mean, every single person's willing to answer questions and also, help you grow it, because they're inquisitive and they want to hear it. how you're doing, and we all do business differently, and it's an awesome culture for sure. So.
For sure.
All right, Jason. Well, I appreciate it, man. This is the cool story. I did not know that the whole story that you were like basically just trying to sleep on the couch and ended up becoming the first loan officer in ALCOVA history.
Yeah, I've got tons of ALCOVA stories, man. We'll have to share them together all fair one day, and then you could pick and choose what you share.
I was gonna say, I was gonna say I'll have to send that to compliance and let them weed through that. So, no, Jason, I appreciate you, and well, before we wrap up, how can people follow you on social media or Facebook, Instagram, anything like that?
I mean, this is the old guy, so this is where I've got to get better. So, basically, I've got a Facebook page, and that's it. I mean, I've got to get better at that, but email me or call me or just follow me on Facebook. But
absolutely.
But no, for real, JB is going to help me do all that. I mean, I brought him on. He's been great. We're getting there. But yeah, just find me in the office.
There you go. Find you in the office. Search you on Facebook, and then this is the perfect time to follow, so we can see your, the progress that you have with the green screen and see everything that comes out. Because
we'll do a little. I just brought on a new loan officer. I'm trying to encourage him to do a series on rookie loan officer, just kind of like the build up for him, because I told him, I said, you ought to do it. And then if there's a realtor out there kind of feeling the same thing, they might find you relatable. And when you're relatable, that means you want to be in a relationship and do business together. So I'm going to hopefully roll that out soon with him. It's brand new to the industry, and kind of his chronicles of his getting started in the industry. So
it's a great idea. A lot of crying, I bet. A lot of crying.
Yeah, I don't what to do.
Awesome, Jason. I appreciate it so much, and thanks so much.
Take care.
This is the standard. This is the work. This is the mindset behind the results. Build not bought, earn not given.